The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present.
I know a little bit more. People who've been told they have cancer know a little bit more than other people. That's staring you right in the face, and it may actually happen.
In 2024, the United States hit a new milestone, estimated to pass 2 million newly diagnosed cases of cancer.
One, it is that the cancer incidence is increasing. Right now, we have 15 million approximately in the world, people that are suffering from cancer every year. Probably the number will go to 30 plus in 2050. And that is happening because, first of all, people live longer lives, and that the age favors, unfortunately, cancer. But also there are risk factors, and we have better ways of detecting now cancer. So that's one.
They're living longer, but actually we're seeing more incidents, are we not, in younger people, which is surprising.
We are, and this is kind of emerging right now. And there are risk factors, starting from environment, starting from multiple alcohol, smoking, but also it is the fact that we can detect cancers way more efficiently today than we could do it years back.
Dr. Albert Bourla is the chairman and CEO of Pfizer. Under his leadership, the pharmaceutical company partnered with BioNTech during the COVID-19 pandemic to roll out life-saving mRNA vaccines.
How to operate with speed. The vaccine, or the operational warp speed that President Trump actually had initiated, was an operation that removed obstacles, but also within the companies was an operation that we were shooting for the impossible. And we came with a mindset, nothing is impossible. We can make it possible. That's a mindset that we can use again, not to find a solution for COVID, but to find a solution for cancer or for Alzheimer's.
Cancer is Dr. Bourla's next big challenge at Pfizer. In 2023, Pfizer completed its $43 billion acquisition of Seagen, a company basing a particular cancer treatment on monoclonal antibodies. Just this week, Pfizer reported earnings that included an increase in spending on oncology to about 25% of its revenue.
You have made cancer a real priority for Pfizer in your investments, in your R&D, in your development, even your acquisitions. Why?
Because we think that we are ready to provide a solution. We want to save the world again. And I think our best chance this time, it is with cancer. The science is there. We invest probably double than all the profits that we made with COVID to acquire a new technology, which is promising a lot.
The number of U.S. cancer cases may be going up, but the mortality rate is actually going down. It's fallen 34% in the last 30 years. And the National Institutes of Health project that if this trend continues, the United States will have 26 million cancer survivors by 2040, a 44% increase over 2022. Pfizer hopes to keep this trend going through one particular oncology treatment turbocharged by its acquisition of Seagen.
It's called antibody-drug conjugate, or ADC technology. And this is like a missile that it is GPS guided. So it doesn't go anywhere in the body. It's going straight to the target, which is the cancer cell. And what is on top of this missile? A warhead, which we call payload, a chemotherapy that is going to be targeting those cells. We know that some cancer cells express some proteins. Then we create an antibody, but it is attracted by these proteins. The antibody is the GPS system. Then we have a payload, which is the warhead. It can be chemical or nuclear or tactical, depends on what you want to attack. And then you need to link the two together, and that is called the conjugation. That means that we believe that in the next 10 years, most of the general chemotherapies could be replaced with targeted therapies like that. They have way less side effects because the chemotherapy attacks also the healthy cells. Right now, we can minimize the impact on the healthy cells and maximize the impact on the cancerous cells.
How far along are we in the process with this new technology of really having something that will start curing people?
I think already we start having dramatic results that, for example, they can triple the life expectancy of the current standards of care. But I don't think it will be a miracle that will come from one day to another. It will be, though, constant improvement every quarter. We will have, not only us, but others as well, releases of new data, of new medicines. Eventually, some of these cancers will be cured, which means that they will disappear and will not come back again. But many of them will become chronic disease. You can learn to live with your cancer with medicines that are not affecting the quality of your life.
Pfizer is not alone in looking for ways to make cancer more manageable. Research has a key ally in artificial intelligence.
I think it allows several things. First is it makes diagnosis and treatment planning more accurate. You know, we're moving away from one size fits all in terms of treatment of cancer or many other conditions. We know that each of us has different manifestations of the way a tumor is going to grow or spread, and also how it's going to respond to treatment. And we need to be able to bring the best treatment to each patient at that particular moment in time, and AI is enabling us to do that.
Dr. Lloyd Minor is the dean of the Stanford University School of Medicine, where he has pushed the institution to focus on precision health, intended to tailor care to patients' individual needs.
I think really we're finding things otherwise we would have not found, because the human brain can only store so much information, and traditional analytic methods have their limitations. Generative AI is bringing out relationships that we would have perhaps never been able to garner without the advent of foundation models and their application to the interpretation of medical data. I think the deployment of generative AI, the pace of that deployment and its impact is greater and faster than the pace of any technological innovation that I've seen in my life. And I think we're still at the relatively early stages.
DeepMind's AlphaFold is proof of how much AI can do in the medical field. It uses its vast computational power trained by 170,000 proteins to predict protein structures.
I remember when I was starting in college, I joined this lab and we were crystallizing proteins and putting the coordinates of their atoms into a database along with many others. And I remember Professor Steve Harrison, who was the leader of our lab, telling us it might take 50 years before we're able to predict how a protein folds given its amino acid sequence.
Marty Chavez has been a fixture on Wall Street since 1993 when he joined Goldman Sachs. But his biochemistry roots go back to his undergraduate days at Harvard University. Today, he serves as a board member of Alphabet, whose subsidiary, DeepMind, won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for AlphaFold last year.
They gave it the 50,000 amino acid sequences or proteins that had been sequenced, and the structure was known through crystallography. They trained the neural network on that database, the protein data bank, and then they did something kind of amazing, which is they then guessed 75,000 protein sequences for which the structure was not known. So here's the amino acid sequence, guess the structure. They fed those guesses back into the model, and then, I'm oversimplifying, of course, but now the model seems to predict with uncanny accuracy the shape in space of proteins that have never been crystallized. It seems that the model discovered some deep patterns in the way proteins fold in space and somehow compressed and captured that knowledge into the model.
We hear a lot about generative AI, and there was just a Nobel Prize given out for the AlphaFold technology. What does that mean, if anything, for cancer? How does those two fit together?
Well, it's, I believe, not only for cancer, but also for cancer. It's going to propel the biological research, AI, in unprecedented ways. We are going to shorten the time that we need to be able to develop molecules.
What's the time horizon, as far as you understand it, for generative AI really making a big difference?
I think quick. I think already we are deploying it, so it made very big difference in the example that I gave you. But as we are deploying in different aspects of the process from discovery to development, I think with the next 2-3 years we'll have phenomenal results.
Bourla points out that Pfizer is investing twice what it made off of COVID treatments to address the scourge of cancer, and it will need to replicate some version of that COVID success in redirecting its efforts. After its stock price surged from that success, shares are down nearly 50% since December 2021, leading activist investor Starboard to take a $1 billion stake in Pfizer, turning up pressure on the company to prove the value of its Seagen acquisition and investment in its drug line.
I know that you're committed to this fight against cancer, as is Pfizer, to save lives, first and foremost. But it's also a business. How big a business opportunity is it potentially if you really have breakthroughs?
It is a very big business opportunity. I'll tell you something. There is a myth about the pharmaceutical business model. And the myth says that whatever is good for patients and whatever is good for shareholders is fundamentally at odds. In fact, the reverse is true. You can't make any money. Actually, you're going to lose all your money in this business unless you are able to discover very meaningful, not me too solutions, very meaningful solutions for the patients. So if we discover medicines that really double and triple the survival, then it's very good business. If we fail, because we take a lot of risk, it's not good business.
You always have new drugs in the pipeline. Where are you on cancer drugs in the pipeline right now at Pfizer?
It is the crown jewel. We are having most of our pipeline drugs, and the most important are coming from cancer. Of course, we have vaccines, we have internal medicines, we have work in obesity, we have work in arthritis and immunoinflammation, but cancer is where we have most of them. And I would say that 3 of the most prominent candidates are entering or have entered or are about to enter phase 3 studies.
For Dr. Bourla, the mission to make life more livable with cancer is worthwhile because it is a disease that affects us all, no matter where we come from or who we are.
It is a global problem and affects all of us. Maybe not all of us as patients, thankfully, but all of us as sons and daughters, as fathers and mothers, unfortunately, as friends, as neighbors. So cancer is something that is scaring people right now. And it is not only in the US or in Europe or in the most advanced economically countries.